Yo, what's up, mech heads? Welcome to the Gundam Versus Spotlight intro video for the White Glint. I mean, the GP01. Sorry, I had to do that joke. The GP01 comes from Stardust Memory, which is an awesome movie. I've talked about it before when I did another Gundam from the series. Love that movie. It really inspired me to get into Gundam, and it was kind of like one of the launching points for me and my love of mechs and Gundam and giant robot anime and video games and even Armored Core, but we'll get into that another day, another time. So the GP01 costs 300 points on death, is a various S type, meaning it is various shooting. It has a balance between range and melee, but an emphasis on shooting. If you're trying to find it, you're looking for the Stardust Memory tab, which is very hard to find actually because it blends in with the background since it's dark. I don't know why they did that. They should have made it a different color. But if you're really having a hard time finding it, you're starting at the beginning, scroll up. It's a few tabs above the Gundam Crossbone, which will be the red and yellow X, and you'll probably pass it again, but look carefully and move slow. The GP01 is a various S, so either or is good for you when it comes to gear, blaze gear, lightning gear. It's all personal preference. When in doubt, I say pick whatever you feel like picking. The GP01, which we start off with movement here in these spotlights, has some very interesting movement animations that are not the same as other types. So the GP01 has a flight mode, and with this flight mode, it's very similar to I would say like Storm and Magneto from the Marvel vs. Capcom series. Very similar to that, where you press R2 and you enter flight mode, and you can keep going into flight mode higher and higher and higher as many times as you want. You also have dodge animations and movement animations while in this flight mode. It is not a transformation, although it is a separate mode of movement. Getting into the basics, here in the command list, pretty average, range, melee, charge melee, which is interesting, charge range, special range, but we also have those extra movements, which is pretty interesting because those aren't listed on other mobile suits and Gundams. But here it shows that you don't have to hold tab to do these special movements. You can actually tap R2 to do a backflip, the hover, and a roll. So if you tap left or right with R2, you simply do a hopping spin. Very simple. If you press back or forward, you do a backflip. I don't know why you don't move forward when you press forward, but hey, it helps. It gets over incoming fire also. You can also chain them together, so they also count as, like your boosting dodge. You can do them in succession over and over to get an advantage, or just to be very mobile, which is really helpful. Getting into those basics as usual, regular fire of the beam rifle is your range button. If you hold range, he does a charge two-handed shot with the gun. If you press L1, he does a spinning shot, which shoots 4 times. It's very similar to Freedom Gundam, if we remember from that video. And if you hold melee, he has movable parts. His lower side disconnects from the upper side, and the upper side charges forward with the beam saber, slashing your opponent. We'll get into more of that later. If you press L2, he simply throws the beam saber forward. No stun added, don't know why. Not even in the gear activation mode, which I thought was pretty interesting because I figured that would be a stun move or something to combo with later on, but it really wasn't. Getting into some of the acrobatics, when you shoot and tap R2, he goes right into the dodge motion. So he's very, very mobile, which is why I said White Glint earlier, because the White Glint, if you played Armored Core for answer, was built very much the same. Shooting, moving, very mobile, very aggressive, very defensive. Getting into melee, found some very interesting things, including one of my favorite moves of all time. I love the Azuna drop. So seeing the GP01 do the Azuna drop is very, very awesome. You can do the Azuna drop by pressing the melee while neutral once or twice, and then back or down and melee, and he will grab and do the Azuna drop. If you do the neutral combo and press forward, he will switch his thrusters forward and somewhat stun the enemy. You can actually combo with that with the charge melee if you can time it just right, and while he's hovering in the air, the upper body will charge forward with the blade. It's pretty interesting. You can do that move with actually a lot of his melee combos, but the timing is really, really off. And other than that, didn't really notice anything other than average. His forward and melee does a pop-up for more combo potential, so there's some good utility there. And his charge melee is a single hit, which can also go into the charge attack. So if you dash forward and press melee, he'll dash forward, do a single hit, and if you hold melee and let go at the right time, the upper half of the body will charge forward again. While doing melee, just like while shooting your gun with the range button, you can also use R2 to do various air tricks, as we'll call them for now. And you can even go into flight mode, so don't feel like you're stuck in your animations. You don't always have to use, you know, double tap left and right to dodge. You can also use your R2 to cancel some animations and get some tricks in. While in flight mode, everything is pretty much the same. Nothing really changes except the elevation difference. He still has all of his base attacks. And I forgot to mention, which I'm glad I thought of it just now, he also has a counter with back and melee, which you can also do in the air while in flight mode. Well, whatever you can do on the ground, you can do in flight mode. The exact same. Even if you are in flight mode and you want to dodge, you can do that. You can attack, go right back into flight mode. The GP01 is amazing. I don't understand why a lot of people don't use the GP01. It seems like a very solid 300 with an extreme amount of evasion. And evasion is really good in this game. Being mobile and being evasive and not being an energy hog is pretty freaking awesome. So getting into the burst, GP01's burst is very similar to Freedom. I say similar to Freedom because I covered Freedom first in other videos, but it can be done from close, medium, and long range, and it does not put your opponent into a set animation. So GP01 will just fire, and if those shots connect, they connect. If they don't, they don't. Getting into gameplay and tips with the GP01, I feel like it has extreme upside on the battlefield. It's very mobile, you know, like as I was saying earlier, you have a lot of evasion, just like, you know, Freedom. Freedom is a 400 with a lot of evasion, but GP01 has even more mobility and evasion than Freedom, which I find interesting that not a lot of people are using GP01. I think they would use GP01 more. I certainly will be, since I've been working on this video, and getting to play around with GP01 was really fun. You know, like all the movements and the evasion, not taking hits from remembering to press the button. I have to get used to it, but all the evasion does count as defense, even though it may not be defense in the fact that it can take a lot of hits. If you're not taking hits, that's still defense. Evasion is still a form of defense. And as you saw right there, that was a pretty cool dodge of, you know, incoming fire while still keeping the pressure of my offense intact. So I say for new players, I definitely advise the GP01 if you really like free movement, you know, like where you can just keep flying around, hovering around, you're a really hard, annoying target to well, for your opponent, I would say you're a hard target to hit. And it really helps you understand boost management, because you have to do so much. Like, the GP01 has a lot in its kit, but at the same time, it can also be overwhelming that it has so many moves in its kit, because then, on the battlefield, you kind of get into a panic, and then you think, oh my god, what was that button? What was that button that I was trying to do earlier? And that all comes with time, of course. But I would definitely recommend the GP01 for new players. It has high health, really good defense, great mobility, as we just talked about, and really good offense too. It can hit from all angles and all ranges, which is very appreciative for a new player to be able to do something no matter where they are, and not just being in very particular spots. And that's it for me. As always, leave a like if you found this video helpful or useful. If you are a veteran out there and you main GP01, or maybe you have some extra tips or analytics or numbers or combos or inputs that are not found anywhere else, feel free to leave those in the comments below. It is very much appreciated. This video was done by request, which I don't think I mentioned earlier. But I'm glad everybody's recommending these videos on the weekend when I have the time to do the videos. So I've definitely gone over my quota this weekend, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop now. So thank you for requesting the videos. Thank you for the 100 subscriptions. And I look forward to making more of these videos out there, as I'll see you out on the battlefield. Peace.